Episode 246, Declutter for Good, with Rachelle Heywood.
Welcome to Latter-day Life Coaches, the podcast where each episode is a conversation between me, Heather Rackham, and one of my amazing coach colleagues. Each coach here is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a highly trained, experienced life coach making a great impact in the lives of their clients. And together, we have one main goal, helping you live your best life no matter what. You ready for this conversation with a coach? Here we go.
In this episode, Heather sits down with coach and mom of 6, Rachelle Heywood, to explore how decluttering isn't just about stuff. It's about your peace, your presence, and your emotional freedom. Rachelle shares her personal journey from overwhelmed mom to peaceful homemaker, and how life coaching helped her understand the emotional and mental layers beneath physical clutter. Rachelle reveals how things like guilt, identity, fear, and people-pleasing can block us from letting go, and how we can start small, coach through it, and build a home that feels light, joyful, and manageable. If you're feeling suffocated by stuff or stuck in the clutter, clean, repeat cycle, this episode will help you break free. Please enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I am joined today by Coach Rachelle Heywood. Hey, Rachelle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Rachelle has not been on with me before, and we are going to discuss something today that is near and dear to my heart that I love. So I'm happy that we get to talk about this on the podcast, because I don't think we've had a discussion about this particular topic before. But before we get started, I would love Rachelle to give us a quick introduction. So Rachelle, can you tell us a little bit about you, what you do, who you work with, all those things?
Sure thing. Yeah. So I'm Rachelle Heywood. I live in Arizona, and I am married to my awesome husband. We've been married for 21 years, and we have 6 kids. Our oldest 2 are currently serving missions, and our
Are they
youngest,
twins, or they just pulled out? Did they just
they
happen
are
to overlap?
not. They're 17 months apart.
Okay.
And so they just happen to overlap.
That'll
So
do it. Yeah.
Yep, it sure did. So my oldest actually comes home next month, and I'm so excited.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and my next one just got started in January, so he'll be out for
Okay.
a while. But yeah, so fun. And then my youngest is 4 years old. So we have a wide span of
You
ages.
do. That's so fun,
So
though.
yeah, it is. I always, when my oldest was little, I always said, I wish I could have him at every stage, because I love this stage so much, but I kind of want to see what it's like when he's older and a teenager and whatever. And I got my wish. I have
Yeah.
every single stage. So it's
You
so
do
fun.
right now. That is so
Yeah.
fun. Well, my youngest just graduated from high school, so
Oh,
I'm like trying to figure out a new phase in our life. So anyway, it's
I
very
cannot even
interesting.
imagine.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty nuts. But anyway. Okay, Rachelle, who do you work with? Who do you, I know, I mean, I know, but everybody else needs to know you're like what you love to do as a coach.
So I help moms that are in the thick of it, that are just overwhelmed with life. And it comes down to being overwhelmed at home, really,
Hmm.
because our stuff can inundate us. And I learned this from experience when I was a young mom. So 10 years ago, I just had my 5th baby, and I just felt so overwhelmed as a mom. And I just thought this was motherhood, right? It just felt like I was constantly cleaning up after my kids. They were just being kids, but they happened to like to wear clothes and
Oh,
eat food. I know, weird. And play with toys and do all the things that kids do. And it felt like I was just constantly following behind them, picking up after them, right? And I didn't get to actually enjoy them and be present with them. And that was not the mom that I wanted to be. And so I was just super frustrated. And I heard somebody say on a podcast once that she was in the same boat as me at one point. And she finally had had enough. And she went and decluttered her kids' toys one night, just because she didn't know what else to do. It just felt like the toys were taking over the house and her life, because she was
mhm.
constantly cleaning them up. So she went and decluttered all the toys, not all the toys, 90% of the toys. And the next morning, she braced herself, ready for her kids to just lose it and throw a fit that all their toys were suddenly gone. And it ended up being the opposite. They came down into the playroom the next morning and they were all playing so nicely together. And they played longer and they were happier and nicer to each other. And she was like, what just happened? So then she got to thinking, what would happen if I did that to the rest of the house? And so she did that and she found the same thing. Her whole family was happier. Everyone wanted to be home. She wasn't constantly cleaning up. She could actually enjoy her family and be present with them and be the mom that she had always wanted to be. And I was like, wait, that's possible? That can happen? And so I was like, I'm going to try it. So I did the same thing. I decluttered my whole home. And I found the same thing to be true for me. I found so much peace and calm, and I was able to be more present with my kids and be the mom I wanted to be. I was less snappy because I wasn't constantly inundated with things.
Mm.
But then over the course of time, it all came back. The clutter all came back. And I was so frustrated because I was like, no, 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 I already did this. Like, I already got rid of all of my stuff. Why am I buried in stuff again? And I'm back to cleaning up all the time. So I did it again. I decluttered again and found that peace again. But then over the course of, it took a little bit longer this time, but it did eventually all come back. And I was beside myself. I was like, is this how it is to be a mom? You just accumulate stuff, let it go out of the house, declutter it, and then it all comes back. And you just do this repeatedly, wash and repeat for the rest of your motherhood journey. And I just couldn't believe it. And I didn't want to take that as my life sentence. And that's about the time that I found life coaching. And I realized that that's what I was missing. That was the key ingredient that I was missing, the emotional and mental aspect of the clutter.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was decluttering, I was just going through and getting rid of anything. Like, grandma's Afghan that she made me, I'm like, well, it's got to go, right? Because I need my peace more than I need this Afghan. But I didn't process the emotions or the ties that I had to those things. And I hadn't rewired my brain to knowing what was important to me and what I wanted to allow in my home and what was helpful to me and my family and what served us. And once I realized that, the clutter stayed gone for good. And that's why I do what I do, because I want to help moms be able to declutter for good so that they can always have that peace in their home and they can love being in their home with their family and be present with them and enjoy them and be the moms that they wanted to be.
Mm. I love it. My family I called it a purge, the great purge of 2017.
Yes, yes, yes.
That was my last big purge. And it's time. But everybody comes home. Like my kids are all in college, except for my oldest now. And they come home and it's like 3 apartments come home, right? I'm like, I need a storage unit for all my kids' things. So I'm in this weird phase in my life, I feel like. But anyway, it's not about me right now. But hopefully I can glean some things through this conversation today to kind of help me through my mind space that's kind of feels a little bit cluttered right now.
I love that. The Great Purge.
Yeah, the Great Purge.
My Great Purge was in 2015. So I feel you.
Oh, it felt so good. All right. So why would you say decluttering our physical space is so important? I mean, you just talked about this a little bit, but when it comes to both our emotional and our mental well-being, what is it that creates for us?
So the thing is we are constantly, especially as moms, I mean, everyone is, but especially as moms, we are constantly being inundated with noise, right? We have our kids that are telling us all the things that they need us to do or want us to do, or, what they're upset
or need us
about.
to buy all the things, right?
Yeah, or need to buy. We have our to-do list that's a mile long and it's constantly circling in our mind, right? We always have it processing in the back of our minds. We have the radio, the kids are playing their music or the TV's on in the background. And amidst all of that chaos, we also have the noise that's coming from our stuff. Mm. And a lot of times it feels like our stuff is yelling at us, right? Even when
I swear it is.
It is. Even when there's no one home and the house is quiet, which is very rare, it can feel loud because we look around and we're wanting to sit down and just relax for a second and read a book or watch a show or something. And it's hard to relax because the dishes are yelling at us that they need to be washed, and the laundry is yelling at us that it needed to be folded, and the toys are on the floor over there, screaming at us to pick them up, and we just can't catch a break. And that gets exhausting because everything that we see, our mind has to process, whether we recognize that we're processing it or not. Most of the time it's happening in the background, thank goodness, but still it's there. And we're having to process what we're making that mean or what that thing is telling us. And the more that our brains are having to process things in the background, the more the more exhausted we get.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much. And so when we have some blank space that we can have our minds rest for a minute, it is so freeing.
Mm-hmm. I think of that of I don't know if you, but I look my computer, if I click on something and there's just too much going on, I get that little wheel of dread that just circles around. I feel like that's what clutter is, extra stuff is in the back of my mind. Yes, like you said, we're thinking about it in the background, thank goodness, but it's still there. It's that wheel of dread that's just still spinning.
Yep, absolutely. When we have so many tabs open in our minds,
yes,
it just can't function the way that it was meant to. And we were
yeah.
never meant to have to process so much stuff.
No, there is so much to process. Okay, so those are really good points. And is enough to make you be okay, what can I what can I purge? For whatever reason, the word purge always comes to my mind because it feels that way sometimes. But
Yeah.
what emotional attachments? I think this is such an interesting conversation to have because I know that we are all so attached to things. But what are those emotional attachments that you tend to see most with your clients that keep them stuck in clutter? And then how do you help them release that? You talked about your grandma's Afghan. What is, attachments, those attachments? What are they and how do we get rid of them?
So that's why coaching is so important. And that's what I learned through, like I talked about earlier. Anybody can tell you what to get rid of. And I mean, I would never ever tell anyone what to get rid of because that is very personal.
Right.
What is helpful to me may not be helpful to you. And what is special to you may not be special to me and vice versa. So I do not think it's helpful to get a list from somebody telling you all the, here's the 100 things that you should declutter today because that's going to be different for everybody, right? Yeah. But that's why coaching comes into play is because we do all have attachments to our things. We may not recognize it, but we all do have emotional attachments. And always across the board with every single one of my clients, it has always come down to the same things. Being wasteful is something that is always a hang up for people. We don't want to feel like we're wasteful. Well, if we get rid of this thing, that's just so wasteful. I should just hold on to it in case I need it later. Right? Or just in case items like worry or fear of the future. I might need this later, so I should hold on to it just in case. Or guilt. A lot of us have a lot of guilt surrounding our things. We keep it so that we don't have to feel the guilt that would come along with getting rid of it because it was given as a gift or, so we have to hang on to this because what if they ask about it later? So it's just easier to hold on to it and have it sit here on this shelf where, it's technically out of the way and not really in my space, but it is, whether we recognize it or not, so that I don't have to worry about feeling that guilt if they happen to ask about it ever again. Or sentimental items, like I talked about with my grandma's Afghan, right? Grandma gave this to me, and me giving this away feels like I'm just casting grandma aside. This gift of love that she gave me didn't mean anything. And that's so far from the truth. Holding on to it doesn't help us hold on to that love or that expression of love that grandma gave us. But sometimes it does feel like we're just casting grandma aside. And then another one that really tends to play into it for my clients is identity. We will hold on to things that represent a past version of us, something that used to be really important to us, a hobby or a time, something that represents a time in our lives to us, even though it's not useful to us now. And we don't even want to continue, say it's a hobby. It's not even something we're interested in doing now, but it was so important to us in the past that we feel like giving that away would be giving away that part of us. or the person that we want to be in the future. Sometimes there's something that represents who we hope to become. And we think that even though we're not using it right now, if we were to get rid of that, it's kind of getting rid of our chances of becoming her. Because if we don't have this item, we might forget that this is something we want to do in the future, or we
Yeah.
won't have what we need when we're finally ready to become that person.
Yeah. I can see how it would be really helpful as you're like looking at something and you're feeling like all the feelings to be able to specify what feeling it is that you're experiencing when you think about getting rid of that particular item. I don't know that I've ever like been super specific about how I'm feeling about releasing something.
Yeah. And that's so important to do because we don't always recognize it's not always hard to part with things,
Yeah.
right? Like sometimes it's just easy to just let it go. And I'm not saying that we have to stop and, examine every item. Like some things we just don't care about. Like the Happy Meal
Right.
toy, it can go.
Yeah.
We were done with that the minute it came into the house.
Yes. Yes. Should
We
never
don't
have
need to
come.
sit and examine like what filling am I filling with this item.
Uh-huh.
But the best way I've been able to describe it is that there's three layers of clutter.
Okay.
There's the top layer that you could easily just it's like a garden that is full of weeds,
Hmm.
right? The flowers are the things in our home that mean something to us, that are important, that serve us, that we want to have there. And then the weeds are all of the clutter that
Okay.
kind of hide those items and make it harder to use them or utilize them or recognize even what they are. And there's three types of weeds, right? The three layers of clutter. There's the ones that are easy to just rip out. We can go through and just pull them up, and the roots come up easily, and we can just toss it out. No big deal. That's like what I was talking about with the Happy Mail toys or
Right.
the junk mail that comes in that we can easily just be like, we don't need to process anything with those types of weeds, so to speak. But then there's the weeds that are a little bit deeper, that you kind of have to get your fingers down into the soil and really grab the root to pull it up. And a lot of times those are just mental, like those are just ideas that we have in our mind that it's wasteful to get
Hmm.
rid of something and that would be bad, right?
Right.
Or this is just broken and I could fix it. I should fix it, right? So I really shouldn't toss it. Because, and then it also goes back to being wasteful.
Uh-huh. The
And those
mending pile in my house is like bad news. My husband finally said, you're just a recreational sewer. You don't mend. I'm like, yeah, I don't mend. But if you want me to sew that from scratch, I'd be happy to, but I am not a mender.
then you got it. Yeah, well, in that mending pile, like it kind of
Yeah.
every time you walk in that room, does it feel like it's yelling
Oh,
at you?
yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Hate
like
it.
one more thing for you to do
Yeah.
that you just
Yep.
don't want to do.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's those types of things that sometimes do require a little bit of coaching and a little bit of self-awareness about the
Right.
things that we're feeling as we purge those.
Hmm.
But we can kind of do that on our own
Yeah.
most of the time. But then there's the third layer of clutter that's like those weeds that are deep and they are not going to go anywhere unless you take the hose and let it sit there for a little bit and really soften the soil and let it get deep the water deep down to the root where you can actually take a shovel and
Hmm.
really pull it out because if we don't do that eventually the weeds will all come back, the clutter will all come back. And that's where coaching comes into play because we're able to water the soil and kind of loosen it a little bit, loosen our grip on that tightly held belief or emotion that we have tied to this particular item and rewire our brains into understanding why we have it and if we want to keep it or maybe it's not serving us and how to go about releasing that.
Do you think social media has played a big part in like I feel like we kind of overconsume. Like there's a lot of things that get brought into our house that would not have even been an option to come into my house when I was a kid, right? Like we just didn't have the means, but also we weren't inundated with the marketing to bring things into our home. I'm just curious if you've seen that like an uptick in people's um overwhelmed with all their things as people have been consuming more, it feels like.
Absolutely. Because it's so easy to get on social media and, this person says that this thing has solved all of their problems.
Hmm.
And so if it solved her problems, surely it will solve mine. And all we have to do is click and it's on our doorstep the next day,
Yeah.
right? We can just easily bring it in without even a second thought about what we're going to do with it, if it will indeed serve us, or if we even need it, because it's just like an instant gratification. It's an instant second that we just click and order, and there it is.
Yeah.
And then we feel a lot of guilt getting rid of it if we actually don't end up using it because, well, it's brand new, it's still good, I spent good money on it, and it's harder to
Yeah.
get rid of that, to release it.
Yeah. I'm assuming that like once you've helped somebody kind of declutter, there is some work that needs to be done there on like not bringing those things back in. Kind of like you said, you kind of went through these phases where you did. Like that takes some work too. That takes some coaching and also in helping us to unwire that part of us that wants that instant gratification.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about going through the process and really processing those emotions and those mental ties that we have to our stuff. Because as we do that, it kind of naturally happens.
Mm,
It does take a little bit of work and a little bit of presence as we purchase things, but kind of naturally, our brains rewire to be more intentional about the things that we bring in. Because before we go to click on that thing that the person on social media is telling us we absolutely have to have, our brains naturally recognize how much work went into getting rid of something similar, or the way that it's going to impact our home when that item does get here and our
mhm.
peace. And it does a quick assessment about whether or not it's worth it.
Yeah,
And
that's a
sometimes it
good point.
is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. And also, when you've gone through the coaching process, you have strategies in place. Like everything in our home has a place. And so when you're about to click and purchase something, automatically you're going to be like, okay, wait, but where is it going to go? And if there's not a spot for it, is it worth replacing something I currently have with this item to give it a home?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know. Somebody, well, some days it might feel like, oh, yep, I could eject that child so I could make more room for, just kidding.
That one's got to go.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you say to a mom who is looking around her house and doesn't even know where to start?
Start small.
Okay.
A lot of times we all think that we need a whole weekend away with, like, the family has gone, the house is our domain, we don't have to work, we don't have any other things vying for our attention, we're just home and we're gonna purge, right? That sounds really lovely and very unrealistic
And overwhelming.
and so overwhelming.
Yes.
And that's where we get to where I was at back in 2015, where we just get rid of all the stuff, right? If you only have a weekend, you're just going to be getting rid of all the stuff. And I promise it will all come back. You're
Mhm.
going to need time to work through the different blocks that will come up with your stuff. But starting small is so powerful. We all think that if we, like, 15 minutes isn't going to make a big difference. And so we don't do those 15 minutes today or tomorrow or the next day. And before we know it, it's been a month and we could have had hours that we have spent decluttering just doing those 15 minutes a day. And it adds up. It adds up so fast. So the
Mhm.
very first thing that I would say is to grab a box, grab an Amazon box, set it somewhere in your home that's out of your way but easily accessible, so that as you're going about your day and you come across something that you're like, I don't actually want or need that, you can just toss it in the box for a donation. Because a lot of times when we don't have something set up, a system set up for things to go out of our home, we find something and we're like, oh, I don't actually need that, I'm going to donate it. And we set it aside thinking that we're going to donate it. But then when we come across it again, we have to do that same thing again. And we just end up moving it around the house, right? Give yourself a designated, I call it a donation station. That would be my very first step that I would tell you to do. And then just start small, 5 minutes a day. It adds
That's
up.
doable. Yeah, and that's totally doable. Okay, but we don't live in our houses all alone. So we have to manage. It seems like we have to manage everybody else's clutter. Like, what about your children? What about your spouse who might not like be on board with you and trying to be a little bit more intentional about the things that we bring in or release? How do you guide your clients in managing the clutter then that comes from the people that we share a home with?
Yeah, that always does end up being a hang up
Because
for
I'm
people.
telling you, I walk in my
Uh-huh.
kids' rooms and I'm like,
Yep, yep,
okay.
yep. Kids are a little bit easier than husbands, I will tell you that. Husbands, I just say, you know what? We want to just let them do what they're going to do with their stuff. That is
Yeah.
theirs. We leave that alone. We lead by example. And almost always, I would say 90% of the time with my clients, their husbands see what they are doing and how much freer they are without them nagging them, just them doing their thing with the rest of the house. They see how much freer they are, the way that it's blessing their lives. And almost always, they kind of quietly, usually not with any fanfare at
Yeah.
all, start getting rid of their own things. Maybe not to the level that we want it to be, but they do start following suit. Example is so, so important. But with our kids, it's the skill to be learned. And I will tell you, like during my great purge of 2015, like you called it, my kids were always like, when they couldn't find something, they were like, "Did you get rid of this? Did you donate it?" I'm like, I would never donate anything that I have not asked you about first. I did not get rid of it. But they were on edge at first, not gonna lie. But with our kids, it's such a great opportunity to teach them a life skill because we are always going to have things coming and going in and out of our lives and our homes. And if they can learn this skill early on, they will be so much better off because we are just going to keep getting more and more inundated with stuff with social media, like you said, and just consumerism. I mean, it's just always going to be an issue. And so if they can learn this skill at a young age, they will be so much better off. If they are no longer young, it's not too late. We just have to be a little bit more intentional and understanding and patient. But what I like to say with kids is to give them constraints because then they're still making the choices. So say they have a million stuffed animals. They don't want to get rid of any of them. And they need to be able to learn how to make decisions about what's most important to them and which ones maybe aren't most important to them. So give them, say, a basket or a bin and say, this is the basket for your stuffed animals. Any of your stuffed animals that can fit in this bin, they get to stay. But if it doesn't fit, then we have to share it with another kid that could enjoy this toy. And they get to go pick which ones are their favorites and put them in the bin. And anything that doesn't fit, it gets donated. And they're so much more willing to do that because it feels like a game and it also is totally in their control. They get to decide which ones stay and go. And doing that with anything, like this is the shelf that your books can go on. Any books that fit on the shelf get to stay. Anything that doesn't. And then they can manipulate whether, oh, but I really wanted to keep this book. So then they'll go find a different one that they can donate instead so that they can keep that thing that's so important to them.
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of keeping their agency intact, right? It's helping them
Absolutely.
be and also involved in the process and learning the skill, like you said. So important.
Absolutely.
So what would you say about like handling seasonal or rarely used items? Because we all have those. I mean,
Yes.
what do we do with that?
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, there will be the tricks, and I use these tricks sometimes too. Like if you haven't used it in 30 days, it's got to go. But I'm like, but what about Christmas?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't used that in 30 days because, well, it's not Christmas. That's holiday decor is super important to me. I consider myself minimalish. I'm not minimalist by any means. I am minimalish because there are certain things that are important to me and they bring me a lot of joy and they're just kind of part of who I am. I love holiday decor. And so I have a lot of it. But I do have constraints around my decor. If it doesn't fit in the bin, then, like with the kids,
Fantastic.
then
Okay.
I have to, if I found something new and I really want this and it doesn't fit in the bin, then something else has got to go. But with things like that are seasonal or you just don't use very often, but you know that you do use, it needs to have a home.
Hmm.
And so seasonal decor is a great example. You have your bins with your seasonal decor, whether you put them in your garage or your attic, somewhere that you're not tripping over it. Absolutely, keep it, but just have some constraints around it.
Hmm.
So that when the time comes, when it is that season, you can easily pull it out and access it, use it, enjoy it, and then put it back when that season is done. But I will say, be very mindful when you do pull out your decor. The things that you didn't pull out this year, when you go to put it away, it can probably go. If you were able to go that entire season without using it, it probably doesn't mean as much to you as you thought it did.
Yeah. Such a good point. And it also keeps you from feeling, I don't know, I think we can sometimes feel we get out the Christmas decorations, whatever decorations they are, and it can feel overwhelming, or we feel like, oh, I have to put that out. And so we end up putting things out that we don't really want to, but it's like, but I've done this every year sort of thing. I don't know. I feel like it helps you be more intentional about keeping the things that you love and let those be the focus rather than just a bunch of things that are not necessarily that important to you anymore.
Exactly. And the things that we do end up leaving in the bin, at least me, to not put out for that year, tend to be the things that I have a little bit of guilt about.
Mm.
Like this was, I don't know, let's use grandma again. This was grandma's. She decorated with this every year and you inherited it, but you don't want it to decorate your home because it's not your style.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you keep it in the bin because somehow that's honoring grandma in our minds, right? And we don't want to feel that guilt of getting rid of it because this was important to grandma. She loved this thing, but I don't. And we just keep it in the bin year after year after year, thinking that we're somehow honoring grandma and not having to feel that guilt.
Yeah. But then every time you think about grandma, you're feeling guilty, and that's not fun either, right? Like you don't
Right.
want to feel that way.
No, grandma does not want you to feel guilty.
No, she doesn't. Okay, some grandmas might. Some
Yeah,
grandmas
that's
might.
true. That's true. And that's something we can talk about for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Not mine, but some might. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um it's something that, and this is just like that I've been noticing for myself. I have a lot of guilt about, like I'll look at people's like minimalist closets and I love how they look. But we are involved, our family, like I always say, it takes a lot of gear to like participate in our family because we have so many different activities from,
Mhm.
winter things and summer things, and whether that's like I don't know, backpacking or rafting. And there's just so many different things that are required if we want to like do the things that we all do. And I used to, and that also means different kinds of clothing too, because it all requires different sorts of things. And I used to just have a lot of almost guilt, like, how come I can't have like this minimalist closet? And I had to finally kind of come to terms, oh, because that's like not my lifestyle. Like, I will have, like, my lifestyle is to have, I need all these things, but I just have to learn how to manage all those things rather than having it be over too much of it. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's something that I've learned about myself. And I think we all have to learn about ourselves, what works for us, what we need. And we can't really compare to other people. And that's where I get in trouble. I love the way someone else's closet looks, but mine can never look that way because I mean, that would mean I'd have to let go of all the activities that I love to do.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so individualistic. That's
Yeah.
why I would say I would never tell anyone what they should and should not have because everyone's life and family is so vastly different.
Yeah.
And while the pictures on Pinterest look amazing and beautiful, I am yet to find a Pinterest pantry, for example, that functions in real life.
Yes.
In
Yes.
real life. Maybe there is. Someone prove me wrong, please. I would love to know because I'll copy you. But it just like it more often than not is not going to look Pinterest worthy.
Yeah.
But if it works well for you and if it is serving you and your family and you don't feel like you're the one serving it, the items,
Yeah.
then you've won.
That's a great, I like that slogan. Like, you like it should be serving you. You're not serving your items. That's a
Yeah.
really, it's a good way to, to go about your day, trying to figure out whether to keep it or not to keep it. So
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, Rochelle, thank you. This has been fantastic. And super helpful for myself and many others, I'm certain. But before we leave, can you tell people how they can find more of what you have to offer us in our decluttering lives?
Absolutely. So the best place to find me is on Instagram at Rachelle Heywood Coaching. And from there, like I give lots of free tips and tricks and all the hacks. And I'm very active on Instagram. And then from there, it'll take you everywhere else that you need to go. If you want some help with coaching or whatever you need, you'll be able to find it there on my Instagram page.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll link to that in our show notes, make it easy for people. And hopefully, like next week, after when someone listens to the podcast again, they'll be like, oh, like I feel a little bit lighter this week because I listened to Rochelle last week and, I was able to take a few minutes a day. So that's my hope for people that they can just feel lighter. I love
I
it.
hope so. That's my hope. That's my goal.
What a fun group of, just a fun niche, right? Like, I just think it's so fun that you get
It
to,
is so fun. The people I get to
yeah,
work with are just phenomenal.
yeah.
It is so much fun.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Rochelle. And we will see you again next time. Hey, we just wanted to thank you for spending part of your day here with us at Latter-day Life Coaches and being part of this conversation. Share this with your friends so that you can have a conversation with them on this topic as well. And as always, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Have a good one, my friends.